What was your rhyme in a toxic family moment? I had my graduation from engineering the same day as my mother's birthday. I, of course, had nothing to do with the date choosing. My mother said I ruined her birthday, so she scheduled her birthday party to be on my actual birthday. Her birthday is March, mine is August. When my friend pointed out that most people are allowed to shower every day without having to negotiate it, my dad screamed at me for 20 minutes when I was 11, called me a bitch, and told me to get the hell out of his house when I casually mentioned we seem to argue more than other families. When my ex-sister-in-law broke into my house and started painting my living room while I was at work, apparently she didn't like the color and that would just ruin her Christmas. When I got put in a children's home at 6 and the other kids there were scared of the stories I would tell about my home life. My mom said I love you at the end of a phone conversation when I was 22, and I realized it was the first time she ever said that. My mom makes up lies then makes me look like the liar. Told my mom I was depressed and she basically told me to deal with it myself. That was 4 years ago and I'm still having a shitty time of it. My first memory is of my parents fighting when I was 3. I remember my mom looking at my dad and yelling, "This is why we are getting a divorce." They separated when I was 2, but took some time to figure out custody as well as the actual finalization of their divorce. My mom was always so angry and would scream, throw things, and tell me consistently she didn't want me around. I finally had a breaking point with my mom the day before I turned 17. We got into a huge fight and I finally realized that she was just taking out the aggression of her past on me. I realized she had been blocking out the abuse she put me through and finally brought it to her attention. I know her mother was an abusive alcoholic and she kept perpetuating this cycle of abuse. What triggered the whole realization was when I dated someone for the first time when I was 16 and my BF's mom treated me like her own. It was the first time I felt welcome in a home. She made sure I ate because she knew I wasn't eating properly at home. She always had a bed made for me in case I ever needed a place to stay and would always check in with my BF to make sure I was okay when I went home. I moved out the month I graduated high school and I have not gone back to her house. When I realized what sex was and that my family shouldn't be doing it to me. Not kidding. Fucked up childhood. When my overly religious grandma tried to defend her blatant favoritism of my older sister by telling me that I was born evil. My birthday, I got you a pack of socks, but I realized I can get them cheaper from somewhere else, so I'm going to return them. My brother 2 weeks later, I think I'd like archery. Will you get me this $600 bow? Parents, oh hell yes. I never got the socks. Meeting regular parents and witnessing them actually be good to their kids, help them, love them and teach them valuable lessons about life. Not yelling for every small mistake they did. Also now realizing that not every raised hand is about to hit you, sometimes it's there to pet you. But unfortunately for me, it wasn't the case. Years ago I was in the hospital after getting stabbed in the abdomen. Went under and the EMS had to bring me back. Woke up in the hospital full of stitches, but still alive. I had a really great group of friends that came throughout the weeks of my being there, to the point that I got my own room. Because it was disturbing fellow patients I shared a room with and the staff were super nice about it. Only family member to visit was my younger sister, my mom, dad, other 4 siblings. None of them came, and my mom only phoned and communicated to me through the nurses, never speaking directly to me until I was back at home. And this was during a time where we actually had a decent, comparative to other times in life, relationship. Every time I said I like this, or that, I got immediately criticized or questioned, or made fun of to make me feel like shit. When I found out a lot of my family members are child predators and everyone knows, but no one talks about it. It took my therapist using the word. My mom has had epilepsy since I was 1. I'm 24 and cognitive dysfunction. She's a toxic manipulator and my dad and brother have severe anger issues. I'm afraid of the latter two because they've been violent in the past. I'm struggling so much to get through the next year till I can move out. I can't wait to not walk on eggshells and not dread my days off work. Whenever my mom would always tell me that I love my friends more than my family every time I get home from hanging out with my friends. Note that I seldom do leave the house to hang out with them, once every other week tops, because I'm mostly introverted. It's even worse if I go out for 2 consecutive days or more, shaking my head. It's suffocating and stupid, really. Parents fighting every time they're in the same room, and one of them always complains about the other. I'm 21 and they still do this. The day I joined a specialty school and was informed that it was not, in fact, normal for my father and brother to relentlessly mock me for my autism, literally spent 15 years being called horrid things and being patronized for my interests, and I legitimately thought that was just what male family members did, because my mother would never stop them. When my mother threw a fit that my son is so involved in his dad's life, my mother and father have been separated for a long time because she did the same thing to him. She decided that I was neglecting my son because I didn't want to limit what he does with his dad. He only gets to see his dad 2 days a week because of his messed up work schedule, and I'll give him extra days if he gets them off. I'm sorry if I won't repeat my family's mistakes and want my son to have a father. My dad would offend, have arguments with my mum would run off, and my dad would tell me, a child 6 to 14, that she was going to kill herself. We had a missionary family staying with us, and the parents actually got input from their kids. The entire concept of being allowed to have my own feelings and thoughts was so foreign. My parents also treated us so much better when we had guests. Not getting beaten was so nice. In general, my siblings constantly criticize and mock me for everything I do. They will both gang up on me when all 3 of us are together. Christmas is no longer enjoyable. My dad abused my mum and my siblings as kids. He refuses to believe he ever did it. My mum saw my cuts and didn't try to get me help. I'm 17. I live with mum, just me and her. Some days I think about going to live with my dad for a while, or with my sister when she offers, but then I remember either way I'll be unhappy. My therapist stopped trying to get us to communicate and started giving me tips to survive until I could move out. For reference, I'm a boomer, so I've seen a ton of changes here in the dear old US of A. When I was in grade school, we were on vacation in Arkansas, driving by a building I must assume was a diner/burger joint of some kind, because it was visible from the road. Even more conspicuous was the enormous sign reading colored served in the rear with a big arrow. I was learning to read and practicing read the sign aloud. My father, who was driving, nodded his head and said, "Exactly as it should be." Even though I was only 6, that was my wake-up call. If you liked this video, smash the like button and subscribe for daily dose of Reddit. Have fun and get reddited.